When you are learning English, the first lesson in English language and English grammar is parts of a sentence. Now, what are these? Parts of a sentence can be broken into these areas: nouns, verbs, objects, adjectives, and adverbs, determiners, prepositions, and conjunctions. But before we get into that, we have to understand, before we understand nouns, we gotta understand what the subject is and what the predicate is, and this is what this first lesson will aim to do. People often confuse the subject and predicate placement. What is supposed to come first? What is supposed to come next? So this is what we'll cover in this video, and that will help us to transition or to move to the next lesson, which is going to be about nouns. So for now, let's talk about the subject, and this will really teach you how to arrange the sentence properly. Now, the subject is what or whom the sentence is about. So if the sentence is about me, I am the subject. If the sentence is about you, you are the subject. Predicate is something else. I'll tell you that in the next slide, but that's the definition that you see on the screen. But I'm going to show this to you with a practical example. Now, when we say something like he cooks, the subject here is he. Subject is always the person, okay, the main character. So subject is he. The predicate, guys, in this case is cooks. Now, what is the subject doing? What is this guy or this man doing? He is cooking, right? He cooks. So the action that is being done by the person, the action that is being done by the subject is called the predicate, okay? Now, if you look at the next sentence, he cooks the pasta. Here we have more information. Cooks what? The pasta. So the subject is still he, but if you see the predicate now, it's gonna be cooks the pasta. So here, guys, is the formula you gotta remember forever, okay? This is how it is structured. It is subject plus predicate, always in that sequence, okay? So it's gonna start with the person, and then what they are doing will be the next thing that will be the predicate. Now let's look at the subject in slightly more detail. Now, if we say the bird is flying, what is the subject? It is the bird. Again, the person, the animal, the main star of the sentence. She is driving. She is the subject. The dog is barking at the gate. The subject is the dog. All right? Now, let's look at the predicate in more detail. The definition that you can remember is the predicate is something that tells us what the verb is doing, and verbs are actions. So verbs are cooking, cleaning, washing dishes, whatever, any action that you are doing, walking, running, those are your verbs. So now we have here the bird is flying, okay? So the predicate here is the flying, the action that the bird is doing. Flying is what the bird is doing. So flying is the predicate, and it is the verb as well. Basically, something that defines the action of the subject is your predicate. And you can read this further here to understand the examples better. We're now going to jump to a little bit more detail on the predicate, plus an important thing that you have to understand, which is the object. So now let's look at this example. The bird is flying, okay? So the bird is doing this action of flying. The predicate in this case is the red one, is flying. Simple, we know that. The subject is the bird. Okay, now what if we add a little bit of detail? The bird is flying in the sky. So in the sky is something new. In this case, you see we have three main components. We have the bird is flying in the sky. So if you add them together, the bird is the subject, is flying is the verb, and the object is in the sky. Okay? So a sentence structure, a good sentence and a common sentence structure is the addition of these three things. Subject plus verb plus object. The bird is flying in the sky. The sky is the object. This formula is what you need to remember. This subject plus verb plus object is the formula that helps you make correct English sentences. We'll look at some mistakes too later on, but again, remember, subject plus verb plus object. That is the condition. The bird is flying in the sky. And again, if you combine the verb and the object, it becomes is flying in the sky. That is the condition. That is the situation that we are in. It's called the predicate. That is just for you to remember when you're practicing your sentences. But remember, the formula which you can use for speaking and writing is subject plus verb plus object. Okay? You cannot say the bird in the sky is flying. No, the bird is flying in the sky. That is the sequence. So you can do a little practice here. The cat is drinking milk. She carries the groceries. They are going to buy a new house. Now, what do you think is the subject here? What do you think is the predicate? Try to practice. You can pause this video. And if you didn't figure it out, here are the answers. Look, it's simple. The cat is the subject. She is the subject. They is the subject. Whenever you see the action being done by the main character is the subject. And what is being done, the actual situation, is the predicate. Okay? Now let's look at more sentences, but these are incorrect. These are the ones where non-native speakers or people who have English as the second language make mistakes. These are common mistakes. These sentences, guys, are incorrect. It says, plays in the yard the dog. Walking down the wee are. Cooks dinner on the fire she. Pause the video and place these in the correct order. Remember, it's subject plus verb plus object. Try that. Now I'm going to show you the answers. So here are the answers. It's not plays in the dog, in the yard the dog. It is the dog plays in the yard. The dog is what? The subject. Plays is the verb and the yard is the object. Okay, that is how we're going to place these words. Walking down the we are. Again, it's incorrect. We are the people. This is the subject. Are walking, this is the verb. Down the street is the place where the action is going to take place. It's not a physical object, but we call it object because that is where the action is being enforced, or that is where the action is being done. Cooks dinner on the fire she. No, simple. Put the she first because that is the subject. Put the verb next, the action goes next, cooks dinner. On the fire, where the thing is being done, the object will come next. Okay? Remember that order, remember that formula, and you will never make incorrect sentences. Always place the subjects first, then the verb, then the object. I hope this lesson helps. Please subscribe. Lesson number 2 is coming up.